In this video, all the steps necessary to create a basic house. In the example, we're going to be doing Walden's cabin, which is a very small 10 by 15 cabin with a fireplace, a few windows, a door. We'll learn how to add components, add roofs, add walls, foundations, and then do a basic site plan. And it looks like what you see on the screen right now. I'm going to close out of this so we can start brand new. I'll create a new architectural template. And I'm going to first start by going to my elevations, and I'm going to get my elevations set to what I'd like them to be. So I'm going to create 2 more levels using, in the architecture tab, going to the level tool. I can click on that. I want these to be lined up even with the end, so I will go even with the end and go down a little bit. I don't care about the distances, we'll change those later. And I will draw across until it highlights and snaps to, and I'll click again. And I'll create one more here in between. So overall I want 4 layers. I hit escape twice, and I can select and modify these tools. The bottom layer I'm going to double click on. Okay, so I'm going to make this -4 feet. I'll change the name to top of. And I do want to change the corresponding views. Level 1, I'll change the name to grade. I'll keep it at 0, 0. That is going to be our, the site plan will be at 0, 0 until we add hills and whatnot later. Level 4, I will modify into top of foundation. This is where our walls will connect to. And I only want this to be 6 inches above the ground. Last level is going to be TOP, which stands for top of plate. And I will indeed leave that at 10 feet. Now I can't see what's going on here because they're so close to each other, so I'm going to have to zoom in. I'll click on one of these, and if you look really closely here, there's a few little lines which says add elbow. If you hover over it, I'm going to click on that. And this will allow me to drag up my top of foundation. I'll scroll over a little bit to the right. I'll do the same thing for grade. Click on it and then zoom till you see this little add elbow symbol. Click on that. And now they're separated enough that I can read each of my levels. Once you have this set up with your TOP at 10 feet, which is top plate, and you have your top foundation at 6 feet above grade, your grade is at 0 feet 0 inches, and your top of footing is at 4 feet, a -4 feet that is. Once you've got that done, you can go and you'll see that all the names in the floor plan have been adjusted. We're going to go to our top of foundation, which would roughly be what the first floor is starting normally. I'm going to choose a wall. Now, before I start drawing this wall, I would actually like to change what wall I'm going to use. So I'm going to change to I'll go with the generic 5-inch, but I want to actually modify this to make it a 2x4 wall with wood cladding and some inside material. So I'm actually going to go to edit type. I'll click on that. And now I actually want to create a duplicate of this. So I click duplicate, and I will name this my exterior, basic wall exterior. Okay, so I'll go basic wall exterior siding. Click OK. And now I have now selected that, but it's still the same wall. So I need to edit the structure. This is a bit complicated here, but it allows you to really modify what you'd like. I want to insert two separate materials. I'm going to move one up, and I'll click down here and move down. So I have the core boundary, which is the 2x4, which we'll be modifying, and I have my layer inside of it, which is most likely going to be stucco, but now it will be most likely drywall or something of the kind. And then the exterior is going to be the cladding, the wood siding. So first off, I'm going to change this to a substrate 2 and this to a substrate 1. Excuse me, I'm going to change it to a finish 2. The substrate is still a structural member, so it has a little bit of strength that's going to be added to the walls. And the finish has no strength. That'll pull into the building information modeling system, which is a little more than we need to talk about now. But we're basically just trying to create different wall types. And if you make some errors here, it's not that big of a deal. This is just getting to know Revit. So I'm going to change this to 1/2 inch. And modifying, I'm going to make this 4 inches. This is going to be our 2x4 wall. Now, nominal lumber is actually 3.5 now, but at the time that Walden's cabin was created, a 2x4 was most likely close to 4, although it had a lot of variance. It wasn't exact as now manufacturing is. And on the outside edge, I'm going to go 1 space 1/2. We use 1.5 inch thick lumber for our siding. I need to change the material by clicking on it, and there's 3 dots. I'll click that. And you'll get some information here. I'm going to look for softwood lumber. Here. And it's going to create that color. And I'm going to create a surface pattern as well. Now, technically, these all have different meanings in the American National Standard Institute designation for what they like. This means a gypsum plaster, that this means earth, which we'll see once we do our site plan. But we'll do a wood finish. So choose wood finish all at the bottom and click OK. The rest is good. I'll click apply and OK. For my interior structure, I will do softwood lumber as well. And for the inside, I will use, we would have to create the tile, or excuse me, the stucco that we want. So we'll just choose vinyl composite tile, which is really what's used on ceilings, on drop ceilings. But this will work. This is just using a different material to do what we want. And that's a 1/2 inch. So once you have this looking as is, click OK. Okay, we can also take a look previewing the wall selector type that we're looking at, and this is showing our inside, our 2x4 wall, and then the exterior 1.5 inch. You can also see a section view, which would be if you cut the wall in half vertically, so you can get a good look at what's going on. This is our exterior, that's our inside wall, and as we click on them, they will move. So you can see that's our vinyl composite, that's the lumber, that's 4 inches, and the softwood exterior substrate. So this gives you a better view of what you might be doing and what kind of materials you've added. Click OK here, and OK again. I'll delete the line that I made earlier. So from my architecture tab, I'm going to choose a wall, and I'm going to draw a very basic, we'll just call it 10 feet. Take a look. And then I will change my wall type after hitting escape to a generic 5, which is what we originally modified. I'll go over the same 10 feet. Go back down to my detail and change it to fine, and then realistic so we can take a closer look. If your screen has very big lines on it, you may have to click on this thin line button here, and that should modify it. If you don't see it there, it's also in your view, thin lines. So you want to just make them thin lines so you can see more accurately what's going on. So this is what we've done to create our wall type. It should look something like this. I'll delete both of these, and then I'm going to go back to my architecture tab, make my wall tool, and I'll make sure that I have the line tool selected. I'm going to have the top constraint be the TOP, which is top of plate. I'm going to go with the finished face exterior. I want to keep chain dimensioning on. I want to keep a height. I'll make sure I change back to my basic wall exterior siding, and I'll zoom out to make sure I'm within these arrows, and I will go 15 feet. Zoom in, you can see it's going to bend on that corner by 10 feet. And then the rest I can just hover over until it snaps to and finish it off. So now I can go to my 3D view and you can see what's going on. I've got my differing textures. If you want to see it more realistically, you can change it to realistic. You'll see the tile back that we have and then our wood exterior. If we go to an elevation view, you can see it's now from your top of foundation up to the top of plate. I'll go back to my top of footing, top of foundation, where we have drawn our wall. And we're going to draw in a wall that is going to be our foundation. So we're going to do foundation 12-inch concrete, and we'll showing it as a depth, and we change it to top of footing. And we can start from this edge and draw around. This warning is saying you cannot see what you're drawing because it's in a different view. That's okay, because once they're drawn, we can go to our exterior view. Oh, I missed drawing one, so I'll have to go back into that and finish off one of the foundations. Oh, I just didn't clear that error. So now I have my foundation wall. If I go back to my elevation, you can see it's down to the top of footing. We'll go to my 3D view, which is this little house icon. Go to this bottom corner, and I'm going to go to the structure tab, and now we're going to create a foundational wall, which is going to distribute the weight of the house. This is required just on every foundation that you do. And if you just click on each wall, it will now have that bottom T look to it, like we saw when we hovered over this wall slab. It's just the bottom of your foundation that distributes weight. So again, you just click that tool, and you click on the walls. Best done from a bottom view like this. I'll do that one more time just in case I went a little too fast. So structure tab, I choose the wall under my foundation, not structure, and I click on each foundation wall, and it adds that base foundation. Great. Now we just have to add a floor in. So we'll go with top of foundation, the architecture tab, and we will go to our floor tab. So click on floor. There's a lot of ways you can draw these just by drawing with a regular line or a rectangle. But the one that's automatically selected is pick walls. So this allows me just to pick each wall, but first I'm going to change this to a joist, wood joist 10-inch wood finish. I'll click each wall, and as long as I've got a fully enclosed surface, I can hit the green checkbox, and it says, would you like to attach? Yes. I can take a look at it in my 3D view. I should have actually clicked no on that one, and that would have prevented it from changing the wall, so in the future click no. If I look from the top view, you can see the floor is there. I'll go back to my top of foundation, and I've got this basic stuff added. We're going to now add some components, so I'll choose place component, and it has a preset amount of components already there, very basic stuff. If you want to add anything else, you have to go to a library, which is here, this load family. Once you load a family, it will be in your selector for the future. It's like you've taken that book from the library and brought it and taken it out. So it's on your bookshelf now. So I'll load a family, and we're going to choose some furniture. I double click on furniture, and I go to a bed, and we're going to use a shaker bed. I'll click OK, and that's loading this in. If I hit my space bar, I can rotate this. This is actually a double bed, which is too large for the building we're using. So if I go to my type selector, I can change from a double down to a twin bed. And I'll rotate that again, and I'll add a bed. Hit escape a couple times, and I can look around in my 3D view and kind of see more what's going on. I'll do a free rotate, which is holding the shift and the center mouse button. And I've added in my basic bed, and I might want to move it over, so I can click here, and with some arrow keys I can move it a little bit away from the wall. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'll go back to my top foundation. In the architecture tab, I'm now going to add windows and doors. You can only add a window as a window and a door as a door. A common thing people will do is they'll try to add a component and then load a window through there, but you can't load a window as a component. So I'll start with windows, and again I have some preloaded ones, some very basic ones. You can use these if you'd like. I'm going to go into load family and then scroll down to windows, and I can just click and hover over each of them and what I'd like. You can choose what you'd like, but I'm going to go with the double hung with trim. I'll click open, and I can place these, and you can see if I zoom in, you can see it's got a rough outline, and it's giving you dimensions from each wall. I don't want it to be 36 by 48. I will go with a 36 by 72, make it a little taller, and I'll shoot for the center of the house. 7'3". So now I have both of those in. I can hit escape, and now if I wanted to add those windows ever again, they're still here. You do not have to go back to load family once you have done it once. I'll go to my architecture tab and door, and I'm going to find a different type of door because these single flush are somewhat basic. Let's check out what they've got for residential. I'm going to use the door exterior single entry half flat glass, even though that's a little fancier than what was on the original Walden's cabin. I'll click open. This right here is you can just specify the types that you're bringing in. So I went back to the door, and I can see this is the one that I'm trying to add. You can change the size of it if you'd like. In fact, no, that's what we'll keep. I'll have it swing out, and we'll center the door. I can take a look at what this looks like in 3D now. And it's starting to shape up. The last thing we have to add before we add a chimney is more furniture. There were 3 chairs and a desk. So I'll go back to furniture. And these basic chairs here are the smallest ones for a building of this size. I'll click open. And I'll place 3 of them, and I can rotate them again with the space bar. I'll just place them like this. Now you'll have to go into Schoology and download a few more of other components. I've got them downloaded and they'll be available. So I'm going to go into my Google Drive. And right now I'm going to add the fireplace actually. So this is something you'll download and you can drag and drop in, and it's going to upgrade it from a 2011 file to 2017. This is the fireplace. It takes a minute. You can see the status happening at the bottom there. Now we're adding fireplace. So I'll add it here and try to center it. Take a look at what this looks like in 3D. So I've added on a fireplace there. See what it looks like from the inside. I could spend more time trying to modify the center of it or change the flooring, but this is okay for what we're doing now. All right. Okay, so now we have to add in a few components that you'll download from Schoology. These items I actually found on Revit City, which you can log into, and I'll show you how to do that, where you can find components people have made that aren't in the families, because the families that are preloaded with Revit are somewhat limited. You can also create your own objects, but that takes a bit more time than we're worried about today. So I'll go into my architectural design class and choose Revit Introduction. And I want to go into the assignment 5.1, Walden's Cabin. And if I scroll down, there are a parametric fireplace and a school desk. So let's start by downloading school desk. I'll minimize this. Once it's downloaded, I can just drag and drop that component in. And this was made in a 2009 Revit version, so it's a bit older of a desk. It's around if you can see it. It's here. I'd skip a couple times because I only want one desk, and that chair I actually want to move further out. So let's go from a better 3D view. I can move these things around. I'll save this project later. Free rotate sometimes is the best to work with. Pull the chair further out. The arrow key, sometimes that's better. Right in front. Something like that. So we've got all this set up. We've got a couple chairs for our guests, and then now we have to add the fireplace. So go back into my tab in Schoology, and I'll download the parametric fireplace. And then I can drag and drop this in. This was a little more complicated, so it'll take another minute or so to fully load in. I'll put the fireplace on the back side of the door. They're across the way right back here. Okay. There's my parametric fireplace. Yours might automatically be selected, and I'll rotate it so it's about like this, and roughly center it. And there we have it. And take a look 3D. You can see we've added a fireplace. And the last thing we're going to do to this structure is add a roof. So I go back into, I'm going to go to my top of foundation, and I'll choose a roof. Now I want to have defined slope on some, and I want to have an overhang of 6 inches. So here, 6-inch overhang. And I will, using the wall selector, I can choose this edge, which I want to have a defined slope of, and I'll stick with 12, and choose this wall, change that to a 12-12 as well, which is our slope of our building. Now I want to change my defined slope to nothing when I have this, and this will help create a gable. I'll choose each wall, it should be fully connected. I hit the green checkbox, and we're almost done. But if I look at this in 3D, you'll see it's got some major issues, or it's drawn on this level. So this should have been on top of plate, but we can fix that relatively easy just by changing our base level and clicking apply. And we still have a few issues where it's not fully connected, but there's an easy fix for that. So I click on one of the walls and I can attach top base. I can hover over my roof until I click on it, and it will attach that one wall. I'll do the same for the back. And attach top base and wait for it to select in blue. And I still am going to have to do this for the corner walls because they're not quite connected. Attach top base again. Let me see if I rotate around if I've got them all. Alright, not this side. Attach top base, and we should be good to go. I would also like to change the style of roof, so I'll click on that and change it here. You could have done this before. We'll do wood rafter 8-inch asphalt shingle insulated. So it adds a little more texture to it. And we have the basics of our house completed. Coming up next, we'll have the site plan.